UFC Houston, this is the weigh-in recap show, full card predictions, and the betting breakdown. I'm looking forward to talking about each of the matchups on this card after seeing the fighters on the scales. So make sure you guys smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on and make sure you share the video too. I'll be live for the entire card Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Don't miss the fight companion. And let's get into the first fight of the night. The ladies going after it. We got Carli Judice versus Juliana Miller. The pick has been Carli Judice. And I think it's pretty simple why. Dangerous striker that gets knockouts in the women's weight class. Any of them, but specifically at 125. It's an impressive style. And it's a style that I think gives a lot of problems to Juliana Miller on the feet. Now, to say some positives about Juliana Miller, she did win the Ultimate Fighter. Granted, it's the Ultimate Fighter. No, the highest level of comp, no. The finale win was not huge. 2 losses thereafter and got destroyed badly by Luana Santos. Granted, it was 2.5 years ago, came back 9 months ago, beat Petrovic by a decision. But Petrovic is pretty bad. I just think Carli Judice is a girl that has legit potential to break into like the top 10. I think that Juliana Miller is more of a back-ender at women's flyweight. She's got decent jiu-jitsu. If the fight hits the mat, I mean, she has a chance of taking a back, getting a sub. She's got solid control. But she's fighting a high-level athlete with dangerous striking on the side. It just seems like the definition of a complete mismatch. I think Carli Judice should be able to show her levels in striking here. To be fair, though, you'll see in a moment, Juliana Miller came in shape. You can see the cuts in the arms. You can see the lines here. You can see the chesticle outprint there, showing low body fat. That's what it means to me, you know? Silicone or not. Listen, I'm impressed. Juliana Miller's in shape. This is a new look Juliana Miller. She looks fantastic. Looks-wise, she's winning this battle 10-7, okay? But fight-wise, unfortunately, Judice is probably going to get after her with some good shots on the feet. And, you know, we'll look at Judice on the scale, too. Ultimately, look decent. Kind of skinny, you know? The Judice, you're not looking twice. Juliana, you are. I'll just tell you this, though. It's not a looks contest. Skill-wise, Judice's stand-up is legit, man. She's hard to deal with on the feet, and Juliana's going to have to be able to close the distance, take her down, keep her down. Hard to do. Hard to do. She is in shape, though. Juliana Miller's a crazy wide underdog. We'll talk about the odds in a moment. I don't necessarily feel the fight should have lines that are that wide, but altogether, she should be a dog here. There's the face-off. Similar size between the two. I think Carli Judice's striking is the ultimate difference between the two of these ladies. I'll say this. As much as we can knock Juliana Miller's stand up here, and we can talk shit, oh man, she's not all that. She's slow on the feet, slow twitch, whatever. She's definitely in shape. And I will give you truth. You could go distance. She could go the distance. She might be live to go the distance. And she might be live to give Judice a little bit of a tougher fight than anticipated. Judice's knockout, Yanesi Dubin is not good. Juliana Miller beats Yanesi Dubin. To be fair, the Nicole Cagliari knockout's a big deal. I would probably lean Cagliari over Juliana Miller. But that doesn't mean Miller's toughness couldn't be enough to go into the later stages. I know the obvious call is, well, striker with a dangerous style. You're probably thinking she gets a knockout. That's my initial thoughts too. But as you look at the odds, minus 805 is just stupid. Come on. Like, it's an Ultimate Fighter winner in Juliana Miller still. Minus 805. Carli Judice is good. I think she has top 10 potential, but not tested against an elite caliber grappler before. Not saying that Juliana Miller's elite caliber, but she is relatively good at grappling. So, yeah, these odds are stupid wide, but Judice should definitely handle. But I do think there's a real possibility that Judice gets it on the cards and that Miller's durability is overlooked. Minus 160 for a knockout. You going to bet Judice by KO minus 160? Probably not. You might not be betting her by a decision, but shit, it's a ladies' fight. She's got some finishes as of late. You know, in her career, she's getting knockouts. Judice's style is finishes. Live for a knockout, for sure. It's minus 160. The official prediction was her to get a stoppage. I think the damage of body kicks and potentially volume head strikes, they'll probably add up. And she's live to TKO Miller. But I do think Miller could be tough round one. Maybe Judice doesn't get her out of there too early. Even if she does get her out of there, could potentially be a second round finish for Judice, which if you went second round KO, you got plus 375, third round plus 650. It's degen shit. You can't money line it. You have to degen it. Do you think it's going the distance? Do you think maybe she gets a decision? Sure, possibility. I think Judice definitely wins. Obviously, she's an 8-1 favorite, and I do think she's going to live up to it. She's not getting historically upset in this matchup. Miller by sub plus 1,400. That's her Hail Mary, is pulling off a submission at plus 1,400. She's in really good shape. I think at the very least, that could allow her to break into the second round. Over 1.5 minus 140. What's fight starts round 2? Does she not get finished in the first round? It's not worth it. Minus 225. I thought maybe minus 125. That'd be nice. The pick is Judice. The call is officially knockout. Second or third round KO. But a decision is not out of the realm of possibility. And I'm not going to push some absolutist narrative that Juliana Miller is chinny or anything like that. Bad loss to Luana Santos, but it was 2.5 years ago. And I think Miller's physically in better shape. But I think Carli Judice is levels above her in striking. And probably the damage adds up and equals stoppage. So Judice should be locked in. Fight number 1. Beats the fit and looking good Juliana Miller. Next fight is Yadir Del Valle versus Jordan Leavitt. The pick has been the Cuban problem, Cuban missile crisis, man. The freak, Yadir Del Valle, to take out Jordan Leavitt. Leavitt dropped down to 145 for this fight, which I have to say, interesting career move. We'll look at the scales. He actually didn't look bad on the scale. It's one of those matchups, though, where it's like Del Valle has the punch power advantage. I believe Del Valle has the physicality edge. I think he's the better wrestler between the two. He's got bigger punching on the ground, like ground and pound, I should say. I don't know why I'm trying to fucking make it more complex than it needs to be. And he's probably the better athlete. Jordan Leavitt's striking is okay. Jordan Leavitt's jiu-jitsu is pretty good. But Del Valle has pretty nice jiu-jitsu as well. I think the lighter man's skill, I think Del Valle's strike speed advantage is a factor. And I think when they hit the ground, the quicker grappler, the quicker transitions, the more live, speedy reversals. I favor the Del Valle side over the, calculated Jordan Leavitt, who has technically sound jiu-jitsu. Now, I'll be honest with you. There's a possibility Del Valle recognizes Jordan Leavitt's grappling is legit. It's like, I'm going to beat this guy's ass in boxing, which he will. He will bust Jordan Leavitt up in a boxing heavy fight. And then potentially hurting him, taking him down, and then taking his back and subbing him. I think Del Valle is live for a stoppage. I think Jordan Leavitt getting rear naked strangled is a possibility, especially if Del Valle does some damage with shots. I'm very impressed by Jordan Leavitt's weigh-in, which I don't want to, dance too much about a weigh-in. I'm celebrating Jordan Leavitt making weight here, which is, kind of a joke from me. But he looked really fucking good on the scale, bro. Who the fuck is this? Chad Jordan Leavitt looking jacked? What the fuck is going on? Jordan Leavitt's testosterone jumped like 50% since his last fight. What the hell, man? Went from low T Leavitt to high T Leavitt. He looks pretty badass on the scale. He looks good at 45. Of course, he's fighting a guy with probably, super physiological testosterone levels. I don't know what the fuck they're sitting at. What is this animal? These Cubans, bro, I'm telling you. The experiments they were doing back in the day. It's real. Look. Come on. Del Valle is a fucking freak, man. Del Valle is a freak of fucking nature. I can't pick Jordan Leavitt to beat him. But maybe Jordan Leavitt puts up a better fight than anticipated. But when you look at them side to side, oh my God. Del Valle just looks like a murderer. Look at the difference in muscularity. You would think that Del Valle is the former lightweight, not that Leavitt's the former lightweight going down to feather. I think Del Valle is able to impose his will. And if they're striking, the power of Del Valle showcases here. I think he could get on top of Leavitt and land some big shots. I don't see Leavitt out wrestling him. I don't see Leavitt choking him out. I think the lighter man's skill is the way to go. Del Valle inside the distance. It's either going to be a big punch that leads to some heavy ground and pound or potentially, some big shots leading into a submission. So Del Valle inside the distance makes a lot of sense to me. Leavitt, I mean, listen, it'd be a tough out. It'd be impressive if he ends up, going the full 3 with this absolute savage on the cusp of something here in Del Valle. But I don't know, man. I don't love his chances. Chase Hooper choked him out. Patty choked him out. I could see Del Valle taking that back and choking him out too. Now it's another fight where the odds are ugly. Betting lines for the fight, 4-1 favorite status for Yadier Del Valle. It's not close. Plus 300 for Jordan Leavitt. Not close, okay? Not close in the freaking slightest. We look towards over a round and a half, minus 150. Does Jordan Leavitt survive? He's got 5 first-round finishes. He does have 4 decisions. To be fair, he didn't finish Monterio on Contender Series, and he didn't finish the fight before against Alamov. He had a fight that was fixed against Dolgarian, and then he destroyed Connor Matthews, who's terrible. This is definitely the highest level guy that is actually trying to win against Del Valle that he's ever faced. Like, in my brain, I see this fight, and I see him as the favorite, and I see him winning. But I think 2-1 odds are actually what this fight is, really. It opened at 6-1, which is kind of crazy. Del Valle should pull it off, but, if you're betting the money line, you're obviously having a parlay. You're paying the price. Let's see. Del Valle on a decision is 3-1. I think Del Valle stops him, though. Inside distance, minus 170. I think Del Valle should get him out of there. Sub is plus 255, KO plus 160. I'm having a hard time deciphering between the two. I'm going to say Del Valle gets a rear naked choke, but I could see ground and pound. And I think that minus 170 for inside distance is pretty live. I think it's a fight that Del Valle imposes his will pretty nicely. What's Del Valle first or second round here? Minus 115. There's really not any good value on the side of, propping it up, really. And you're not really touching the money line. I mean, if you Mystic Mac'd around, God bless you. But I do think it's tricky to say because, I could see Leavitt losing round 1, surviving, getting hurt in round 2, and getting finished. I could see this Del Valle second round coming through, but I wouldn't recommend in good faith any type of like Del Valle round 2 chase at only 3-1. If it was 7-1, or even 5-1, I would say, okay, I think second or third, but I feel like you're playing with fire there. You're asking to get burned. I think the best way to look at it is Yadier Del Valle wins the fight. I'm very surprised. I don't see a Leavitt victory on the other side. It's more about how. Option A seems to me a stoppage. And if it was a decision, I think it would be respect on Jordan Leavitt's durability coming through. But I'm going to say Del Valle, the lighter man's skill. I think he's going to showcase some power. I think Jordan Leavitt potentially could have some chin woes cutting the extra weight. We don't know how he's going to absorb some heavy shots from this Cuban savage. And I'm going to favor Yadier Del Valle to stop him. And I do think a rear naked strangle is live. I like inside distance. I got him beating Jordan Leavitt. Let's keep going. Next fight on the card is Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani versus Phil Rowe. I've been picking Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani. I've had my moment with Phil Rowe. The savage underdog lock against Angelosa, Phil Rowe with the comeback victory. And it was a great celebration. It was a cult clip that's, small town viral on YouTube Shorts. But the reality of the fact is this. Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani should be able to take him down and get to top position. And positional dominance is key. I knock on Phil Rowe, and I will tell you guys time and time again, and this is a guy that has backed him in fights. The annoying part about him, he's fine with playing guard. He's fine with trying to pull off submissions from bottom position, but he is not a hyper elite grappler. He's, faced off against Gordon Ryan in grappling, but he's not a high-level jiu-jitsu practitioner where he's going to be much of a threat of a triangle or an armbar from bottom position. And Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani has very heavy top pressure, and he's got sound control, and he's got a high fight IQ. And he's absolutely a blossoming prospect on the rise. I just genuinely believe that Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani and the team is going to come with a good game plan. I believe Phil Rowe, too susceptible of being taken down. And Angelosa blew his wad and gassed out against him. And then Phil Rowe came back, thunder shots. I don't see John Paul gassing. I'm going to favor John Paul by decision. I know, Phil Rowe stepping in on short notice. Some people may be thinking, what if? Does he get subbed? Does he get finished? I don't see it. He's been knocked out one time and then 4 submission losses. That knockout loss, and you can see a lot of grappling matches for him too. That knockout loss for him was way back, dude. Pro debut against Roberto Yang. Wow, 7-22. What's crazy? I know Roberto Yang. He did a boxing match. That's crazy. But irrelevant. I think that Lebosnoyani is probably getting on the cards, probably hitting some key takedowns, probably ending up in top position. Phil Rowe's got a massive advantage in height and reach, specifically in reach. 8.5 inches is a big deal. His long range strikes are just not good enough for my liking. Phil Rowe has decent boxing, but he likes to get on the inside. Phil Rowe, he is a tall guy that likes to fight in close range. And I just cannot back that against a guy who I rate as a pretty sophisticated prospect at 27. John Paul looking pretty good, thick, in shape. This is top pressure and control. This is the wrestling showing skill here. Phil Rowe, he did initially miss weight, but he made weight on his second try. He was 172, then he made 170.5. Just if, those that don't know, now you know. He looks lean. He's in shape. He took this fight on short notice, and I think that the side of Lebosnoyani's wrestling is the ultimate difference maker. There is a big height difference between the two, and I understand the temptation on Phil Rowe, but you are going to have to rely on him to not just play bottom, to try and get up to his feet, unload some big shots. I just don't feel confident that Phil Rowe is going to get back up to his feet if he's taken down. I feel like he's going to be stuck on bottom. And Lebosnoyani's going to be working shots from top, patient with some ground and pound, trying to look for a sub. Probably doesn't get it. The pick for me is John Paul Lebosnoyani on the cards, though. I do think decision makes absolutely the most sense in the fight here. It's -210 for John Paul Lebosnoyani as, a moderate favorite, but for the prospect that he is, an understandable tag, especially with a short notice Phil Rowe. Phil Rowe went distance against Coe, though. He went distance against Jake Matthews. He's an experienced vet. And I think that some people are taking that experienced veteran status for Phil Rowe and selling themselves on picking him. As somebody that has picked Phil Rowe in the past and been right and won it with an underdog, him, and then lost in the past in certain matchups, I just think I have a good read of Phil Rowe. And this is a fight where if it is striking, he's got a chance. If he is dropping big punches, he's got a chance. The problem is I am not confident in his ability to get back up to the feet. And I can't make that prediction. I'm going Lebosnoyani on the cards. Now, what I find rather interesting, though, is John Paul Lebosnoyani, by a decision, is +275. That makes a lot of sense to me. And, you look at the KO is +400. The sub is +250. Lebosnoyani's been getting some knockouts lately, but those guys are not Phil Rowe level strikers. He has finishing wins for sure. I mean, you look at his resume, only 1 decision, 5 submissions, has a very good sub game, but Phil Rowe has very good submission defense. Regardless of his lackluster get-up game, he's not getting mauled, taken down and pounded on or submitted. He's just losing positions, and he's going to lose the positions here. So my Rolodex tells me Lebosnoyani on the judges' scorecards at +275. He's going to get tested, and he might get caught with some shots, and he might even get busted up a little bit and maybe, bloody nose and a cut from Phil Rowe, but he'll end up on top more often than not. And he'll have sound positional control, which should be the key difference maker. I will favor the fighter who I feel good about getting in top position and keeping it there, as opposed to a fighter that is going to rely on the puncher's chance and really rely on Lebosnoyani's youth to be his detriment, right? Meaning that he'll gas out and he'll make stupid decisions. He seems like a high IQ prospect on the rise. I would trust in that. Lebosnoyani, decision win. Next fight on the card, we have Ramiz Brahimaj versus Punahele Soriano. So throughout the week, I have been picking the side of Ramiz Brahimaj. I believe in his grappling, specifically his submission grappling. Solid wrestler, not elite wrestler. Punahele Soriano is physically strong, and he's actually a decent wrestler in his own right on the other side, but he doesn't bring much of a submission threat. He brings an explosive power striking attack. I would rate his boxing as slightly more dangerous than the side of Brahimaj with explosive blitzes, but I would rate Brahimaj as a more calculated striker. Now, what wins that battle remains to be seen with them striking. Where I feel good about Brahimaj is in the fight IQ element of the matchup and also in the threat of submission in this matchup here. The reason I'm picking him is because I rate him as the better submission grappler, enough so that I could see Punahele Soriano fighting recklessly. If you look at Soriano's recent wins at 170, last fight, a Veretinikov decision where he was just laying and praying, wrestling like a madman. Fight before that, a quick knockout of Uros Medic with an explosive blitz. Like I said, he has explosive blitzing power. He's dangerous, especially first round. And then Miguel Baeza getting on the cards. With wrestling, he's really relied on wrestling in 2 out of his 3 fights, his welterweight division, with the one Medic knockout sensational, but I think he just hit him with the perfect combination at the perfect time early in the fight, and I think Medic is chinny, but we'll get to Medic later. You look at some losses up in weight, Dustin Stoltzfus, Roman Kopylov. Stopped by both. Kopylov is a tremendous kickboxer. Dustin Stoltzfus is not that good of a striker. He's kind of just tough, and he has decent enough stand-up, but he has, a solid enough submission game and is physically strong. Here's my argument for Brahimaj. Soriano exploding with some strikes, Brahimaj firing some straight punches back. Better straight shots on the Brahimaj side. Like I said, I think he's a more calculated striker. They get to the ground. Soriano maybe hits a takedown or 2, but does nothing with it. Brahimaj back on his feet. Brahimaj threatening with the front headlock. Brahimaj potential for a Darce. Potential for a back take. Potential for a Gilly. Potential, obviously, then for the rear naked strangle if he has the back. I just really like the possibility of sub. You look at Brahimaj's recent wins. Submission of Vanderford, a very good wrestler. Submission of Billy Ray Goff. Maybe an overrated prospect, but still impressive. Vicky Gall knockout. Really nice win. And then, the Themba Gorimbo loss was ugly. But to be fair, he had been out for over 2 years prior to that fight. Looked a little slow against Themba. Came back 6 months later, knocked out Mickey Gall. Then ran through Billy Goff. Look at that. 6 months, bam. Now we get him. 4 months, boom. Now 4 months again. Active Ramiz Brahimaj has been looking pretty damn good. And I think he's one of the most improved fighters over the past 24 months. Like, he was a win-loss guy for years. Now he's really put it all together, and I am anticipating Brahimaj to get his 4th straight win. I like his submission threat and finishing ability. I will say that is the ultimate difference maker. Now, I will tell you, you look at these side by side, you'll feel slightly intimidated, a little bit, if you're with me on Brahimaj. I won't lie. There's Brahimaj on the scale. We'll bring him up now. He looks pretty good. He's in shape. Solid frame, physically fit, ready to go. On the other side, Punahele Soriano looks fucking jacked. Soriano is fucking jacked. Wide back, freaky lats, jacked as hell, huge biceps, freaking ripped to the gills. Former middleweight. Size advantage, but potential gas tank woes if he fights somebody that is able to resist his pressure onslaught, which I think this is the guy that will. And then we look towards the face-off between the two of them. And what you'll see is the former middleweight looking larger. Punahele Soriano looked a good amount taller. 5'11 to 5'10. Maybe it's 5'9 to 5'11 and a half, or 5'8 and a half to 5'11. Don't trust the stats. I think Puna Soriano is going to look to jump on him early. Brahimaj will show his durability. I think Brahimaj will weather the early storm. And I do think Punahele Soriano fight IQ is not as high level as Brahimaj. And a mistake will be made. And I believe if Brahimaj's chin is able to hold up from a few power shots that I think Puna could land early, Brahimaj will secure that submission. Potentially in the first round. I'm not saying it's definitely in the later stages. It's potentially a first round sub. We'll look towards the odds. Even money. Brahimaj opened at a plus 146 dog. He was a slight favorite earlier in the week. Now it is minus 110 on both sides. Understandably so. But the horse that I choose to ride with is the Brahimaj horse because I rate his fight IQ higher and his submission game higher. And I think those are key difference makers. If you're on Soriano, you're banking on big punches. Soriano by KO is plus 325 for those on the other side. Brahimaj by sub plus 175. I think Brahimaj is going to get his neck. I think Soriano is going to make some type of reckless and stupid mistakes. And I think we will see the side of Brahimaj capitalize. And I truly believe in what I'm saying, that he is one of the most improved fighters over the past 24 months. Enough so that I think he is the ultimate difference maker. And I'm going to pick him to get it done. Fight ends inside distance, minus 200. I favor the chances of violence between these two. And I'm going to say it's a Brahimaj win by sub. He may lose moments early in the fight, but I anticipate him to find the kill shot. Not the knockout punch, the submission over Punahele Soriano. So the Brahimaj pick is going to be my pick. Let's keep running. Next fight on the card, Nora Cornolle versus Jocelyn Edwards. I have been picking Jocelyn Edwards to win. I will tell you, I thought she won their first fight. That fight was what, 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago? I thought she handled it. We're in France, though, and it was Nora Cornolle's debut. She's an explosive striker. It was the French robbery, okay? Now, 2.5 years have gone by. Jocelyn Edwards has lost the fight to Eileen Perez, but actually had surprisingly decent moments in, reversals against a really high-caliber grappler. And then 3-fight win streak. Vidal finish, Chandler finish, Cachoeira finish. I like the fact that she's stopping girls. Nora Cornolle, since their fight, beat Melissa Mullins by knockout. Granted, Mullins a little bit of an overrated prospect, but a good grappler. One-dimensional, though. Cavalcanti lost. Good striker. She lost to her twice. 2 of her 3 losses, Cavalcanti. Beat Cohen, lost the first round, but then subbed her. And then Corral Hosa able to out-grapple her. Corral Hosa was more than grappling by Eileen Perez. I really think Nora Cornolle is incredibly one-dimensional at a top 15 level. At an unranked level, it's not as evident, But when you break into the top, and now you're fighting a Jocelyn Edwards who's been on the roster for a very long time, is 30 years old, coming into her prime now. They last fought, Jocelyn Edwards was like 27, 28. That couple years makes a massive difference, and she's on a nice 3-fight win streak. The first fight, she should have won. She lost it. I think she gets her get back here. I think positional dominance, wrestling advantage, they should all show themselves. Nora Cornolle has some punching ability, and she has a Muay Thai-based striking style, and some power shots and big hooks, and, pulled off a submission against Cohen, but again, I don't rate Cohen that high either. I just don't think that she's able to beat an experienced vet like Jocelyn Edwards, who's younger with, double the pro fights. And on top of that, should have beaten her before. To keep it real. I mean, she should have got that win last time. So I'm going Jocelyn Edwards to get it this time. And I think she, gets it right against Nora Cornolle this time out. Cornolle, she didn't look great on the scale. I thought she looked kind of terrible on the scale. Kind of looks like a little bobbleheadish. I think it's just the angle. The arms are back. She looks like straight head, bro. Just all head, no body. But I swear to you, it's just the angle of the camera. It's not actually how she looks. And then on the opposite side, Jocelyn Edwards, listen, looks decent on the scale, in shape, prospect, developing skill set, improving game. The grappling is the difference maker. She should definitely take it there, and she will. There's a face-off between the ladies. Nothing changes. Jocelyn Edwards, a little bit taller than her, grappling advantage. Even in the striking, it's not like Cornolle is levels above Jocelyn. Jocelyn has pretty good straight punches. She's a relatively sound kickboxer. She has some power in her hands. She knocked out Cachoeira and Chelsea Chandler. She's on a nice finish streak, but I do think there's a possibility the finish streak comes to an end here. At the end of the day, confidence for me is relatively high on Jocelyn Edwards. The fact that she won the first fight as a younger prospect when she was a lot worse to fighting now a 36-year-old Nora Cornolle, it should be Jocelyn. I think it's more likely Jocelyn 30-27. Minus 315 for Jocelyn Edwards. Plus 265 for Nora Cornolle. Understandable lines because of what is, and the books are obviously not obsessing about their first fight. Opened at minus 220. The first fight was a robbery. It's a rematch that nobody really asked for, but here we go. You look at Jocelyn Edwards, she is finishing a lot of ladies lately. The decision is minus 150. Edwards' game is 7 knockouts and, 2 in the past, 2 fights. But a submission win there. Outside of the UFC, she's got some subs. So what I'll tell you with Nora Cornolle, it's interesting, though, because she's never been finished. I really feel that, unfortunately, the most likely outcome is this minus 150 Edwards decision. And I feel pretty sure that's going to be it. But I will tell you, maybe It's a maybe. She gets to a dominant position, lands some ground and pound, gets a beat up Nora Cornolle in a rear naked. Plus 650 for the sub. Ultimately, I think Edwards wins by unanimous decision. It's minus 135. There's really not much you can do. Most takedowns, 7-1 odds. Again, there's not much you could do. Not much at all. Minus 3.5 for Edwards. Does she get a 30-27? It's minus 120. You got to chase it then. The 5.5 plus 120. I don't love it. I mean, I do think she's live for a 30-27. But there could be one, there could be the 29-28. You never know. Chasing that shit is tough. I'd rather be on the other side of it, hoping that my fighter loses at 29-28 if I'm going for the lines like that, the minus the plus, versus, going for the spread, I should say, going for an Edwards to surely get it done dominantly. So I'm going to say she wins clearly, unanimous decision. Decision win is the most sensible outcome. Minus 315, unfortunately, an ugly money line, but a likely outcome for Jocelyn Edwards. Next fight on the card is Alden Coria versus Louis Gurule. I think Louis Gurule is getting knocked out, okay? Alden Coria is a Joshua Van teammate, a Texas native, and he is a fun prospect right now. I really have to say, this guy comes with big punch combinations, aggressiveness, and I think knockout power. At 27 years of age, my God, he fought 5 months ago. How much better is he now? 5 months at 27, the rate of improvements of guys that are 27 is fucking crazy. Louis Gurule is a 32-year-old prospect. I really believe that Alden Coria's boxing chops, his pressure striking style is in your face, pressure, punches, pump, blitzing them together. But it's not like wild blitzes. It's calculated blitzes. He kind of puts you in a blender. I don't want to compare it to Joshua Van, but you can tell they train together. That's the best way to emphasize my point clearly. Louis Gurule got dropped by Jesus Aguilar, knocked out by Odi Osbourne. His striking is decent. Got a bit of power in his hands. Factory X guy can rip some leg kicks, but I think he's a little too stiff. Doesn't have the best head movement. Doesn't roll with punches that well. I think he's going to be getting caught with a lot of shots. Gurule's best bet in this matchup here is he's got to wrestle. He's dealing with a guy that's defensively sound in wrestling, who's got good straight punches, got a good ability to cut the cage off, who I think is faster than him. Going to have a reach and a height advantage, 3 inches in both. I think that Louis Gurule is getting trapped in the blender of big punches by Alden Coria. You look at it, I mean, submission, right? Knockout. It's a no contest, but it was a knockout win originally. Knockout. Alessandro Costa knockout's impressive. Granted, the rumor mill has it that Costa was injured going into that fight, but ultimately I would still rate an injured Alessandro Costa higher than an 0-2 in the UFC, Louis Gurule, whose biggest win is a split decision over Nick Piccinini. I really think Alden Coria is going to bust Louis Gurule up. And I would actually be surprised if this fight goes the distance, which for a fight in the flyweight division is not always commonplace. But I think Alden Coria's got the style to give Gurule a lot of pause here. There's Alden Coria weighing in, decent on the scale, in shape, ready to go. No red flags around it. Gurule coming in decent shape as well, but I think he's getting handled. I think he's going to be at a clear deficiency in the strike speed. And I think he's going to be made uncomfortable and put on the back foot, forced to wrestle a bit. And I think we're going to see Alden Coria land some tremendous punches. I'm thinking knockout for Coria. There's the face-off between the two of the fighters here. You can see good size edge on Coria. Coria also more pro experience slightly on top of being several years younger. Lots of things I like. I favor a 27-year-old prospect who's 1-0 in the UFC versus a Louis Gurule, who's a 32-year-old prospect who's 0-2 in the UFC. I really believe Alden Coria, there's a lot to like with him. Now, of course, the money line odds are 4-1, so I'm not saying anything, I guess, that outrageous, seeing how wide the odds are. But I will tell you, for a flyweight fight, lucky number 420 now, plus 350 Gurule, for a flyweight fight, I think they're very live for a finish. I think Coria is live to land some big shots. Plus 185 for a knockout. I think Coria is live to put him away. Louis Gurule, 1 knockout loss, 1 decision loss. He got dropped multiple times by Jesus Aguilar. I think Alden Coria is going to club him with some power shots. Plus 185. I like Coria's chances to get a knockout in this fight. I do, and it's plus money. Of course, You can just parlay up a money line. I'll put them with some of the more confident picks and run something like that, which at the end of the show I'll do. But that knockout prop intrigues me with this flyweight fight because of Coria's finish-based fighting style. He's looking to throw a lot of shots. He's looking to get in your face and land hard. And he's got fast punch combinations with power, and he's got a proven track record of knockout ability. Now, it's not an impossibility of him to showcase some submission woes, or rather submission skills, the woes of the opposite side. He does have some subs on the record. So it's not like, there's no way. But to me, how I look at the matchup, I favor the side of Coria to get the KO more than anything else. So my official prediction is going to be Alden Coria to win via knockout in the spot. Next fight on the card is also a flyweight fight. It's Ode Osbourne versus Alibi Idiris. I am an Alibi Idiris doubter. I must tell you, I felt he came into the UFC with a ton of hype. The Joseph Morales fight, I mean, he was a clear favorite and he looked like the guy, but he kind of got exposed. And I look at this matchup with Ode Osbourne, and I have to favor Ode Osbourne in a striking fight. Alibi Idiris is a Kazakh fighter. And because of him being from Kazakhstan, training with Asu Amabayev, I think there is a natural bias that fans have that they fall into the belief of, well, you train with this guy, you're from that side of the world, you're a wrestler. He's not. He's not. Alibi Idiris, his wrestling is, I would say, C+ at best. He's not a physically strong fighter. He's definitely more of a striker. He has okay takedown threats, but I don't think he has high enough wrestling to just at will take Ode Osbourne down. I look at his game and I think he's definite striking. Like, what are we talking about? 4 KOs, 4 decisions. I don't feel like Idiris is just winning the wrestling battles all night against Osbourne and putting him on his back for 3 rounds. And I think in striking, Alibi Idiris is live to get caught by punches. I think Ode is the faster puncher. I think Ode has a bit more power. I will tell you, I enjoy watching the flying knees. As a flying knee aficionado myself, I enjoy Alibi Idiris shooting for flying knees. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's likely he lands the shot that Manel Kopp did against Ode Osbourne. And Ode has a nice 5-inch reach advantage. He's an inch taller. He's got a shitload of UFC experience. I think Ode's live to steal a competitive decision. He just had a sensational performance against Steve Erceg last time, where he rocked Erceg bad in round 1. And he ends up losing a competitive decision against a former title challenger. Granted, it was at 135, and it was a short notice fill-in. But I will say, Ode was the guy that took it on short notice. And granted, okay, Erceg was preparing for 125. I guess you can say those things. But I think there needs to be some respect on Ode. Fight before, knock Gurule senseless. Nearly stopped Ronaldo Rodriguez round 1. That fight was not a loss, though. It's a draw. So in a world of fair judging, he's like 1-1-1 in his last 3. You can argue that the Erceg fight could have been a draw, for fuck's sake. I cannot pick a guy who's 0-1 in the UFC coming off the Ultimate Fighter and getting mauled in the finale by Joseph Morales on the ground to go out and just clearly shut down Ode. I think that Ode Osbourne is a tricky puzzle for Alibi Idiris to deal with. I think his distance striking is a factor. I think his strike speed is a factor. I think his punching power is a factor. And I see Ode Osbourne pulling out a hard-fought 3-round decision as a slight underdog in this spot. Now, they're not wide odds, and I think that's Ode getting some respect from, the books on the UFC experience and the recent performances. There's Ode on the scale. He's looking fucking jacked, man. Ode's in fantastic shape here. On point at 126. No weigh-in woes. There's Alibi Idiris. He looks ripped too. Respect to Alibi Idiris. He's coming in shape. Both guys in shape, ready to fight. There's the face-off. Nose to nose. I'm going to say Ode Osbourne's striking is more fast twitch, a little bit cleaner, a little bit more precise, and enough so where I'm going to pick Ode Osbourne to get this nod on the judges' scorecards. Alibi's going to have to show me. I'm an Alibi Idiris doubter at this point. Now, if you're looking at the money line odds for the fight, it is around -130 towards the Alibi Idiris side as a slight favorite. Ode sitting at +110. I do think this fight is incredibly live to go over 1.5 at -200. I do think that Alibi Idris's chin will hold up. And I will say the same about Ode. I think we're looking at an Ode Osbourne decision at plus 275. And I would even go as far as to say possibly a competitive fight where one judge gives it to Alibi Idris. We could see a split or majority decision for Ode Osbourne at plus 1050. Very degen, but a read that doesn't seem incredibly far fetched. Now, if you're looking at the spread for this fight, there is a possibility that Ode makes it competitive. If you believe Ode is going to be competitive, a plus 3.5, meaning 29-28s across the board in loss, plus 120 for Ode. Okay. Even the plus 5.5 at minus 185 is not an outlandish take. I really believe Ode is live to, at worst, take around. I'm picking him to win this fight. Is the plus 120 line real for the plus 3.5? That can't be real. That's got to be flipped. That's got to be a mismark. No, it's minus 160. I knew it. Plus 3.5 is minus 160. I knew it because I'm like, wait a second. It can't be better than the money line. Him to lose a close fight or, potentially win, but the option of losing a close fight is better than the money line? No. Plus 110 for Ode, minus 160 for the plus 3.5. That makes more sense. I do think Ode Osbourne is going to get this thing. And I think it's competitive. I think that there could be some moments for Alibi Idris, but I do feel as though Ode Osbourne's striking arsenal is going to give Idris some pause. And I think that Ode is going to be stopping Idris's takedowns. I think he's going to be landing some solid shots on the feet. And I think he's pulling out a hard-fought decision win in Texas against the Kazakh fighter. So my prediction here is going to be Ode Osbourne by a decision as a slight underdog on the card. Next fight, we have Chidi Njokuani and Carlos Leal. This fight also closes out the prelims. I have been picking Carlos Leal, but I will tell you guys straight. This fight feels like a damn coin flip, and the odds reflect that. The reason I like Carlos Leal is because of his boxing pressure, his clinch work, and his physicality. But on the flip side, there are things to like about Chidi Njokuani. He's a very good long-range Muay Thai striker with nasty body teeps. In close range, he does have very good knees, and he has dangerous elbows. Look at the cut that he gave Gregory Rodriguez. Chidi Njokuani is a dangerous striker. But he is at 170 now, and I watched an interview years ago where he talked about how much he hated cutting to 170, and that was years ago. He's 37 now. It's very hard for him to cut to 170 pounds. I will also tell you this. You look at his most impressive recent welterweight win, Elizio Zaleski. Recognize he came in over the limit and did miss weight for that fight. He made weight for this fight. At welterweight in the UFC, making weight, decision against Reese McKee. It was not a split. Decision against Jared Gooden, and then a quick loss to Jake Matthews. At 170, Chidi Njokuani making weight. I just don't feel overconfident in him. Carlos Leal on the other side is coming off of a terrible loss, a one-shot KO loss 6 months ago against a roided-up Muslim Salikov. Recognize, Muslim Salikov fighting on the other side of the world, okay? That fight took place at UFC Abu Dhabi, okay? I'm telling you, that's not the Salikov that fought Medic. He was on some shit. I did a side-by-side comparison of the physiques weigh-in for this fight against Leal where he knocked him out and then the Medic fight. So I just want you guys to recognize, yes, he got knocked out by Salikov, but it was not necessarily regular Salikov. It was super Salikov, okay? I think that Carlos Leal is live to give Chidi some problems, man. I'm thinking there's a possibility of some takedowns. I think it's a close fight. I feel like Leal can land some heavy punches. I don't know where Chidi's at after a real quick loss either, 7 months ago. Quickly subbed by Jake Matthews. Leal quickly knocked out by Salikov. So you got two guys coming off of pretty terrible losses facing off against one another. It is not the most intriguing spot if you're on the gambling side. But straight prediction-wise, I'm going to say Leal can impose his will. I think he's live for a decision. I think he can mix in some takedowns. I think he can land some big shots. But it's worrisome. I don't know what form of either of these men we're necessarily getting. And we can attempt to make a read from the weigh-ins. And, of course, that's what I'm here to do. I will attempt to make a sophisticated read. What I saw was an in-shape Chidi Njokuani, but recognize he's wearing the sunglasses. The face is very sunken in. This is not an easy weight cut for him. If you watched him weigh in, he did look a little bit shaky. Okay, so making the 171 mark is something that is incredibly hard, especially for 37-year-old Chidi Njokuani. On the other side, Carlos Leal, smile on his face. He looks filled in. doesn't look to have had a treacherous weight cut. He's also not fighting on the other side of the world, which I think potentially, you could say, well, did that affect him even going into the Salikov fight? He looked a little flat early. He was over aggressive early and he got caught. I'm going to say Carlos Leal, but he could win a decision here too. It's not like it needs to be a knockout. It could be pressure. It could be a takedown. It could be close range boxing. It could be back and forth. It can be him outworking Chidi and Njokuani. Looking at Carlos Leal's career history, he's a knockout specialist. 11 knockout wins, but he does have 7 decisions. I think there's a real chance of these two going into the later stages, but betting side, -150 Leal, +130 Njokuani. It's one of those fights where you could stay away. You want to back a 37-year-old underdog who is just choked out in a minute, or do you back the 31-year-old Leal who's coming off of a quick knockout loss? It's ugly on either side. So personally, I like to stay away. But of course, I got to give you something. Live to go over 1.5 at +115? I'd say, yeah, it is. It is live to go over 1.5. Yes, it's live to even shock you and go distance at +400. But I don't know where a 37-year-old Chidi Bang Bang is at. Maybe Leal able to muster up some big shots and stop him. -110 for Leal inside distance. Leal by KO is +160. But what's crazy is Leal on the judges' scorecards is 7-1 odds. Chidi Njokuani is not an easy guy to finish. Like, yeah, he's been knocked out 5 times. Okay, but let's take a second and recognize. He was knocked out by Michel Jacek, a good puncher. Granted, you could use comparisons to Michel Jacek and the side of, Leal in some capacity with the pressure boxing. Very different, but something. RoboCop, granted, landed some big elbows early. Submitted by John Salter years ago. Koreshkov, this is outside of the UFC. I do think it makes sense to favor Leal by KO at +160, but there is the, D-gen side of it at +170. Leal, or rather +700. What am I saying? +170. +700 for Leal to go out and get it on the scorecards and potentially get on top of Chidi. What's KO or decision? Let's see. +120 KO or decision. Possible. It's one of those fights, man. I do think Leal wins. I do think Leal is live to impose his will, and I do think Leal could be live to stop Chidi and Njokuani. But, it's one of those fights, man. Gambling on either side. Relatively risky business. It's always a risky business. It's always a gamble, right? But in a matchup where both guys coming off bad losses, it's tough. But I do feel better about the Leal side, enough so where he is my prediction. So take that with the information as you wish that I presented. Maybe you think decision, maybe you like over 1.5. Or maybe you think Leal's going to bust a hole in his face and get him in round 1. Listen, you think Leal just blitzes him and Chidi's pretty much washed? You think he's going to get done dirty? +250 Leal round 1. Take with that information as you wish. But yeah, my pick is going to be Carlos Leal. Let's get to the main card. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash the like button. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. And also be sure to hype the video as well. It's Zach Reese versus Michel Pereira. Throughout the week, I have been predicting that Zach Reese pulls off the upset in the fight. It is not that I'm telling you Zach Reese is on the cusp of contention. It is me telling you I have serious doubts about Michel Pereira at supposedly 32, potentially 37. We don't know how old he is. The Brazilian birth certificate thing is, a real thing. I look at Pereira, and I look at the last 3. I mean, he looked like shit against Fluffy Hernandez. But Fluffy's a monster. He looked like shit against Abus Magomedov, but Abus is okay. He got destroyed quickly by Kyle Dawkins. The chin of Michel Pereira, I don't know if it's still around. The gas tank, it doesn't exist. If Zach Reese is able to survive an early storm from the side of Michel Pereira, what happens then? If he doesn't get knocked out in 3 minutes, does Michel Pereira have the gas to win a decision? Does he have the gas for a 3rd round stoppage? I feel doubtful. Whereas Zach Reese, I'll tell you, at the very least, he's athletic as fuck. Nasty body kicks, some power in his hooks. He's got a decent submission game. Zach Reese, he's also a Texas native. We got the Texas pride on the line. I think Zach Reese is live to beat Michel Pereira inside of the distance here. I think Michel Pereira might be washed, man. I feel as though Zach Reese, if he can avoid some bombs early from Michel Pereira, he's going to be live to get it done outside of the first 2 minutes. I mean, if you look, the longest fight of Michel Pereira's UFC middleweight career in which he won was 1 minute and 6 seconds. Quick Petrosky win, quick Michel Oleksiejczuk win, and then quick Ihor Potieria win. If he doesn't get it done fast, if Zach Reese is able to survive the early storm, evidence tells me you cannot believe in Michel Pereira past 3 minutes at this weight class. And I'm not going to. I'm going to pick Zach Reese to pull off the stoppage upset past the 3-minute mark of the fight. I think it's incredibly live. Granted, just last fight, Michel Pereira was put away in seconds. Let's look at the fighters on the scale here. Let's give them a look. All right. Michel Pereira, I will tell you, very physically fit, shredded up, in shape, shades on, ready to go. Is he checked out mentally, though? Where is he at? I don't know. I don't know with Michel Pereira. He's a wild card for me. Zach Reese, looking pretty good on the scale. Looks ready to go, too. Both guys in shape. Kind of has the signature mullet back, which, I don't know, man. I think that gives him some Texas power. We're in Texas, and he's got the mullet. Got to favor the mullet man in Texas. Cowboy hat and all, too, during the official face-off. I will say the height difference seems to be a lot less substantial in reality as opposed to what it is on paper. 6'4" to 6'1". That looks like 6'2" to 6'1". Possibility Michel Pereira is wearing lifts in his shoes. I wouldn't put it past a guy like Michel Pereira to do something like that. I just think I have to favor Zach Reese to potentially get Michel out if he's not intimidated. That's what it comes down to. If Michel Pereira's early explosiveness terrifies Zach Reese and he kind of just turtles up, yeah, Michel could do what he did to all the other mediocre middleweights that he's fought. But if he's willing to absorb some shots, he's willing to run a little bit, let Pereira kind of gas himself looking to blitz, I think that Zach Reese is live to put some heavy punches on Michel Pereira, potentially take a tired Pereira down and take his back, man. I think Zach Reese is live for a submission. I think he's got really underrated jiu-jitsu. Zach Reese is a good submission artist, man. And I'm kind of feeling Zach Reese by sub. Odds for the fight, plus 150 for Zach Reese. I'm going with the underdog in this spot. Michel Pereira, minus 175. I don't believe in Michel Pereira at this point. I can't believe in it. Not after the past couple. Let's see. If you're going Pereira, it's probably first round. It's like plus 225 for first round for Michel Pereira. Zach Reese inside distance, plus 175. I think this fight does go under 2.5 rounds. What are the line for that? Under 2.5 minus 275. Yeah, it's probably going under 2.5. Reese by sub plus 650. Reese by KO plus 300. Listen, it wouldn't shock me if a tired Michel Pereira is outworked on the ground by an athletic kid like Zach Reese. I say kid, they're about the same age. It's just Zach Reese is a lot younger in fighting years. And I have my doubts about Michel Pereira's actual age. If you do like Michel Pereira, I'm assuming you like round one. It's plus 225. I'm going to favor the side of Zach Reese to pull off the submission. I'm going to favor the side of Zach Reese to pull off the upset. I'm going to go against the Michel Pereira early explosive power and favor Zach Reese's resilience to the onslaught and potential for him to do something late. Now, could Pereira just drop bombs on him and put him away? Sure. Sure, Zach Reese is not all that. But he's athletic. I think he is confident with how the recent results have gone for himself. And I have to favor his edge in grappling. I'll tell you a weird stat. Those that don't know. Dushko Todorovic actually knocked Michel Pereira out pre-UFC at middleweight. Not using MMA math, but if you're doubting Zach Reese's competition, he does have this win here against Todorovic, a guy that was able to break Pereira pre-UFC. So just a random note to mention. I'm going with Zach Reese for the upset. Next fight on the card, we have Jacobe Smith versus Josiah Harrell. Woo! I'm picking the Jacobe Smith side. I have to say, Josiah Harrell's good. Like, I watched tape on him, I'm like, yo, guy's got comfortable striking out of both stances. All right. He's got really solid jiu-jitsu, good BJJ reversals, shot for a mighty bar in his last fight. The grappling game is sound. The submission threat is sound. Cardio seems pretty good. And I'd say he's pretty deceptively fast with creativity on his punching. He get wrestled up a little bit in his last fight, but ultimately his opponent gassed and he was able to finish him off. Now he takes on a hyper elite, explosive athlete, a high level wrestler with serious knockout power and aggressiveness. Reminds me physically of Tyron Woodley. When I say Tyron Woodley, I don't mean the, fighting off the back foot style. Jacoby Smith is a guns blazing in your face style, but he definitely has some ferocious punch power and heavy ground and pound and a high level wrestling game that needs to be feared. Coming into this fight also with a pretty good size advantage against a short notice replacement. Harold took this fight like a week's notice. He did fight a little over a month ago, and that's a good thing, being that, physically he's not far off from a camp. But he's fighting Jacoby Smith, who's 2-0 in the UFC. A Jacoby Smith who was scheduled to fight Sakyun Ko. I have to favor Jacoby Smith in this matchup. I think maybe a little more calculated, but I could see him pressuring Josiah Harrell and cracking him with thunderous shots, and ended up, shutting him off. Battle of 11 and O's. Harrell was actually supposed to fight Jack Della years ago, but they discovered he had like a rare brain disease, and he ended up getting pulled from the fight. And, obviously now got that dealt with. Nice win streak for himself. Undefeated as a pro, but I'm saying win streak post UFC release from the, brain disease. And he's back. It's a great, like, hero's comeback story, but not this matchup. Not against a hyper elite fighter or hyper elite athlete. I don't want to overhype Jacoby Smith yet. I think Jacoby Smith is able to hurt Josiah Harrell. I favor Jacoby Smith by KO, I have to say. I think he's live to beat Josiah Harrell by knockout round one. And, obviously some will be disappointed to hear it because of some underdog love to Josiah Harrell. There's Harrell on the scale. Listen, may weight, look pretty good. He's 5'7", bro. 67-inch reach. He is absolutely a lightweight that fights at welterweight. He could make 155, the muscle hamster, but he doesn't have the same muscle size as the freak specimen, Jacoby Smith, on the other side. Now, I know some people have doubts about Jacoby Smith's cardio. I get it because of the fight against Nico Price. He kind of blew a little bit of the wad early, but I don't know if Josiah Harrell is able to survive the early onslaught. There's the face-off. Both guys, though, very physically imposing. I just have to rate Jacoby Smith as the guy that gets it. I think he's going to end up knocking Josiah Harrell out. I think he's going to land some big early punches, back him up, make him uncomfortable. I think we're going to see Josiah Harrell on the back foot getting caught by some bombs. And I think the Jacoby Smith hype continues to build after he handles business in a violent way against a fellow 11-0 fighter, which pretty badass to have two 11-0 guys going after it. The odds for the fight are minus 350 for Jacoby Smith, with Josiah Harrell at plus 285. I favor the side of the Jacoby Smith explosive power, the defensive wrestling. Harrell's best bet is to survive an early storm and pull off a bit of a freak factor upset comeback. Now, you look towards the side of Smith by KO at plus 210. I have to say, I think it's a real possibility that we see him win this fight by knockout. On the opposite side, Harrell, a very good jiu-jitsu ace, plus 700 for him by submission. You'd have to favor a comeback sub for Harrell if he's to win. But I'm not overlooking the explosive power. I'm not getting overly sold on, well, he stopped Nico Price in the second round after pulverizing him round one and maybe gassing a little, but then still got the stoppage. I'm not going to sell myself on that narrative to try and force an underdog attack. It's not going to happen here. My prediction is going to be, as it's been all week, Jacoby Smith with explosive punching power to back Josiah Harrell up, make him incredibly uncomfortable, and knock him out. And I do think Jacoby Smith could land the takedowns in this fight. I think he's the better wrestler. Josiah Harrell may be good, or even better with pure jiu-jitsu, but I only think that will work against an incredibly fatigued Jacoby Smith in the later stages. Let's not act like Josiah Harrell wasn't getting out-wrestled in his last fight early in the first two rounds. I think Jacoby Smith is way too much for Josiah Harrell here. And the call, Smith by knockout. Next fight, heavyweights going after it. It's Sergey Spivak versus Ante Delija. My prediction here is Ante Delija to go out and explode on Sergey Spivak. I rate Delia's striking as pretty dangerous. He's a power puncher, but it's more of like explosive striking blitzes. Brings a lot of forward pressure. Is actually one of the faster fighters at heavyweight. He comes in lighter at 239, which I think is kind of a good thing, especially because he is a sound defensive grappler. You have a speed advantage on Spivak. You back him up against the cage and start ripping him with some shots. Spivak has always had a bit of a weak punch resistance. I mean, we saw it against Gelatin. He got caught with some shots, kind of just turtled up. We've seen him knocked out numerous times before. Got knocked out by training partner Avante Delija and the side of Tom Aspinall. I feel like Delija brings the forward pressure early and explodes some big shots as he backs Spivak up towards the cage. Where Spivak wins this fight is grappling. And I have a hard time seeing a world where Spivak can easily maneuver an Ante Delija in the clinch and take him down and just maul him from top position. I feel like that's a rather unlikely outcome. The more favorable outcome is that Ante Delija is in the face of Sergey Spivak, landing big shots, backing him up. And as Spivak is getting caught with clean punches to the face, he starts to wilt. And I think Ante Delija is very live to stop him here. He's coming off of the rough Waldo loss. And yes, he was knocked flat out. It was 3 months ago. And sure, he did have some moments as he was backing Waldo up early prior to him gouging the eye of Waldo. Fight being paused, him having a complete adrenaline dump thinking he won the fight, and then the fight continuing and Waldo knocking him out. So unfortunate circumstance there. But early takeaways is Delija brings good forward pressure, has effective boxing in close range, and obviously a guy that has fought at a high level in PFL outside of the UFC, and now coming into the UFC and, you know, quickly dispatching of Tybura, tough loss to Waldo. I think that Sergey Spivak is going to be a little bit of a step behind in striking. Now you can say, oh, well, Spivak went distance with Waldo. It was Waldo on short notice, yes, to be fair, but he still got outstruck and outworked in the fight. I think Delia's explosive close range power and his combos, his flurrying combos, difference maker, ultimate difference maker. And I don't see him getting out grappled with the side of Sergey Spivak. And I think Delija being on the lighter side at heavyweight gives him a nice speed advantage. And I think the straight punch blitzes should definitely be enough for the side of Delija to stop him here. So my prediction is going to be Ante Delija, not just to win, but to win by knockout. I think he's going to stop Sergey Spivak. Now, there's been a lot of line movement in this fight, which we'll get to momentarily. But first, I will bring up the scales between the two. Sergey Spivak, listen, bro, he looks like a fucking ogre per usual, dude. That is Sergey Spivak. He is the definition of a real life motherfucking ogre. And then on the opposite side, Ante Delija coming in looking, you know, in some senses like fucking human Shrek out here. In solid shape, you know, a little bit lighter, 11 pounds lighter, 12 pounds lighter. Not a massive difference in weight here, 12 and a half pounds. In shape, ready to go. Doesn't seem to have any type of noticeable physical ailments leading into the fight. No, that's not a staph infection. That's the Delija third nipple. Supposedly he lactates from that third nipple. It jokes. It's not true. I don't think it's true. Maybe he does, though. I believe that Ante Delija should handle business against the polar bear and the plotter in Sergey Spivak. I do. I feel as though he should be able to handle, you know, a slower striking style and more of a guy who needs grappling control, but has wilted in the past to explosive punches. There's the face-off. The Delija side is going to be the side from me. I feel confident that he goes out and handles. The odds, minus 130. Listen, it was minus 185. It was minus 140. It's now minus 130. The odds have actually really tightened up between these two. There's been some consistent line movement, which I just find rather intriguing here because it's not like Spivak is like a casual's favorite to bet on as an underdog, you know? Open that plus 160. Granted, it has been a rather gradual climb down, not like it went from plus 160 to plus 110 in a matter of hours, but just something that I've noticed. Of course, myself being confident on Delija, you know, probably possibility of something from, you know, the side of that prediction earlier in the week. I think Delija should be able to land the close range bombs. But is it that me picking Delija earlier in the week, the books are like, yo, we're going against Big J. They heard the show. They're like, let's fucking throw it down. Let's make it closer. Let's bait them in and let's hope Spivak wins. I have no fucking idea, man. Is there a lot of love on Spivak I don't know about? I don't know, man. Spivak by decision is plus 450. That's like his best bet. Delija by KO at minus 110. I believe Delija is going to win by knockout. I think the straight punch blitzes are the key, but I will mention this as I haven't mentioned, I don't think before. Maybe I did during Probaholics. There is a possibility, if need be, that Delija could win on the judges' scorecards. I don't think it's an impossibility of 3 hard rounds of work between the two of these men and Delija getting it done on the scorecard. So just something worth mentioning. But nonetheless, my prediction stands. Ante Delija to win the fight by a knockout, and I am confident that he wins. And I do think he's going to stop Sergey Spivak with those explosive straight punch blitzes. And I think Spivak, simply put, a little too hittable. Next fight is our featured fight of the night. Dan Ige versus Melquizael Costa. I'm picking Melquizael Costa. Listen, I am a Melky fanatic at this point. He's on a fantastic five-fight win streak. I was able to succeed with him as an underdog lock last year against C-Rod. Obviously, he's been a confident pick in some other spots, as well as this week, beating Juliana Rosa, knocking out Morgan Charrier. Melky Costa seems to have absolutely hit his stride. He's a dangerous striker from all ranges. Comes from a base of Muay Thai striking, but is not a Gene Matsumoto-style plodding Thai style. More of an elusive, long-range kickboxing Muay Thai base. His close-range knees and elbows, though, are valid, okay? There are weapons in his arsenal. He is the better fighter with all 8 limbs. Dan Ige is kind of just boxing pressure and some kicks, mostly low kicks, whereas Costa has good kicks to all ranges, was able to hit Erosa with high kicks, knock out Charrier with one, good teeps to the body from the outside, good long-range punches, good close-range knees and elbows, and Melky has a high-level jiu-jitsu game. Melky's very sound in grappling. I think Melquizael Costa is going to break into the top 15 here. I do think he's going to be able to pass the Dan Ige puzzle. I think specifically in the first 2 rounds, his sharp striking will find effect. Dan Ige is going to have to close the gap and land some big shots in close and definitely rip some flurrying punches. I could see Melquizael Costa tying up with him, backing him up against the cage, landing body, knees, and elbows. I could see Dan Ige looking to pressure with body work and then catching Melky to the body a little bit, but Melky firing back with some decent straight shots into some takedown attempts. And even if it's not to get Ige down, I could see like body lock control against the cage, a potential back take from Melquizael Costa. I just think Melky's style is poised to pass the Dan Ige test at this time. Dan Ige, 1-3 in his last 4, but obviously, high-level opposition, right? The side of Diego Lopez, Lerone Murphy. To be fair, though, Patricio Pitbull will shut him down. I feel like Melky's going to be too sharp. And I feel like Melky should get it on the cards. Ige's never been finished. I'm not going to say Melky's the first guy to finish him, but I think Melky's striking prowess gives Ige some pause, and I think his threat of grappling is very live. And I'll also say, Dan Ige supposedly changing the nickname to 100 Grand Dan. I think there's bad luck around it. It's a bad omen. I'm going with the Dalmatian all day. And I think Melquizael Costa is live to thrive. Listen, he cut a lot of weight consistently, man. Year and 8 months ago, Norton Becke. Right? And then he took some time off, comes back, Feely win. Boom. Comes back like a month later. C-Rod win. Comes back a month later. Erosa win. Comes back after some time off, about 6 months. And he destroyed Charrier. Now, 2.5 months, comes back. I think we have a Melky Costa who is just too much momentum moving straight forward, confidence high, and only 29. Coming into his prime now, I think Melky's making some rapid improvements, and I think his high-level skills are absolutely going to shine in the spot, and he will break into the top 15. So Melquizael Costa to shut down Dan Ige is going to be my prediction in this fight. As far as the fighters on the scales, we'll bring them up and give them a look. Dan Ige, listen, he's in shape. He got the fireman stash, which adds a few years of age to him, but typical Dan Ige fashion. No, negative things to say about the Ige side. And then on the opposite end of it, Melquizael Costa coming in, looking like he normally does, man. He's got the cool hair, the Dalmatian, ready to fucking win. Glasses are on, nice shades, we're ready to go. And then the face-off between the two of them, does it tell any tale of the fight? Not really, besides Melky's a little taller. We'll tell you, he looks incredibly excited to be there. He looks confident. I think it's just kind of a battle of career timing. 5 years younger is Melky Costa. Still, shitloads of pro experience from Melky Costa, regardless of still not even being 30 years old. And I think he's finally put all the pieces of the puzzle together. And I think it's time Melky breaks into the top 15. So Melquizael Costa is my pick. I do feel as though you got to respect Dan's durability. Plus 195 for Dan Ige. minus 230 for Melquizael Costa. The side of Costa to get it done on the judges' scorecards. That's what I feel is more likely than anything else. Costa by decision. It sucks. It's minus 150, but I do think it's probably a decision. Could he land the perfect head kick plus 750 if he does? And my God, if he knocks Dan Ige out, Melky's getting fast-tracked. Costa by sub plus 1,000. Nobody's finished Ige yet, so it's hard for me to sit here and tell you that Melky's going to stop him regardless of how sensational that high kick was against Sharier. What I also like about Melquizael Costa as a prospect is the fact that he has had to win some decisions on the run up, and it's not like he's just stopped everybody. So I feel as though he can work a 3 hard. Potentially, Dan Ige could even take a third and pressure him after Melky wins the first 2, but ultimately, I think Melky will do enough to secure this decision win, and he's going to be my pick to win, and I'm feeling pretty damn good about it. Melquizael Costa by a decision in the featured fight. Next fight. Co-main event of the evening, Jeff Neal versus Uros Medic. I think it's one of those y'all must have forgot fights. Like, let me take a sip of the drink. It's a y'all must have forgot fight. Jeff Neal gets knocked out by Carlos Prates. And now there is a strong push I've seen throughout the live chat throughout the week, and even in the comments, that Uros Medic is going to put him away. I have to say, Jeff Neal, prior to the Prates knockout loss, was known for efficient boxing, durability, giving runs for the fucking money to Ian Gary and Shavkat. And now it's overzealous, confidence, I should say, overconfidence. On Uros Medic on the other side, I'm just hard-pressed to believe that. I think Medic is a good sharpshooting striker from long range, but he's chinny. Let's not forget Urbina dropped him. He's dealing with a fellow southpaw, which I think is going to make this fight very interesting. Yes, Prates dispatched of him 6 months ago, but it's Carlos Prates, though. Prates is a terrifying striking force. Medic, former lightweight, now at welterweight, slick kickboxer, definitely has speed, but in close range, Jeff Neal has some underrated hooks. He's got some serious explosive impact in close range that I think is going to land with some real efficiency here on the Uros Medic side. And I think Jeff Neal is absolutely going to hit him with some thunderous punches in boxing range. And I think he's live to hurt the side of Uros Medic in range and put his lights out. So I'm favoring Jeff Neal to get some damage on the side of Uros Medic and close range boxing to be incredibly live. And I think Uros's chin woes may be on display because I got doubts about his chin, man. I think a lot of us have some doubts about his chin. And at the end of the day, yes, I rate Medic as a good kickboxer, but close range boxing is all Neal. And Neal does have serious power. And, the losses of Prates, Ian Gary, and Shavkat, that's like 3 of the top 6 guys in the world at welterweight. And now to say that Medic is going to handle him too when, Ian Gary's running from him and Shavkat's busted up by him. Yeah, 2 and 3 years ago, but still, I don't think Jeff Neal at 35 is that far removed from his prime. I think he could still be in it. I'm going with Jeff Neal. And I think the Medic chin woes are on display in this fight. And people realize that it was an off-the-roid Salikov that made him look like a sensational contender on the rise. But in the reality, it's Salikov without the sauce. Didn't have much. Uros Medic did look incredible on the scale, though. Shredded up, jacked, physically in shape. I mean, you can tell he had a tough cut, but like on point at the weigh-in. Jeff Neal, who's sober for the first time in like 5 years, looked incredible on the scale. Weighing in, looking jacked, explosive, and ready to go. Definitely had a weight cut, though. You can see it on his face, too. Then we get to the face-off between the two men. Both look to have rehydrated nicely. Dude, I think Jeff Neal's putting his lights out. I think Jeff Neal's knocking him out. Uros going to be fast from the outside, maybe even land some good long-range shots. Neal gets in close and cracks Uros. And I think Uros' lights are shut off. Jeff Neal's close-range power is too devastating. And I'm going to predict that Jeff Neal puts Uros Medic down and out. I feel pretty good about it. Obviously, Uros Medic is a sharp kickboxer and a fellow southpaw where things get interesting. But ultimately, I feel like this fight definitely ends by KO. Somebody's going to bed. And I just feel like you have to favor Neal's chin to hold up better than Medic with Medic being knocked out quick by Puna Soriano and obviously getting dropped by Urbina, who's not very good, to now being in the spot after a quick knockout of Salikov. I feel as though Neal should be able to get him. Under 1.5, minus 160, probably goes under. I expect violence off rip here. Neal by KO, minus 140, not much love for it. Medic KO plus 250. Obviously, the value would be, oh man, Medic gets it. Fight ends in KO round 1, minus 110. Probably a first round KO. This fight feels like a 1-round fight. Neal round 1, plus 165. Neal KO round 1, plus 180. There's really not much value on the line. So people are going to probably be more inclined to jump to the opposite side of Euros Medic, but I think Jeff Neal knocks him out. So Neal by KO is my official prediction for this matchup. And I do think he should land some devastating close range headshots, which separate the two. High level comp throughout his career, some solid wins. And at 35, I don't think it's over yet. And though I think Euros Medic is a quality kickboxer, I have serious doubts about his punch resistance. And I think Neal exploits that weakness. So Jeff Neal to knock him out. Next fight brings us to the main event. Make sure you guys smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hype the damn video. Sean Strickland versus Anthony Hernandez. I have been picking Anthony Hernandez to win this fight throughout the entire week. And I have presented a very simple argument into why. Because I believe he is going to win the battle of real estate and dictate the pressure of this fight. Meaning, putting Strickland on the back foot. The fighter on the back foot in this matchup is most likely losing this matchup. Now, Sean Strickland has very good forward pressure. Absolutely. But we saw against Duplessis him force backwards consistently. I think Hernandez can take elements of the Duplessis game while mixing in the high-level grappling threat that should be enough to deal with Sean Strickland here and force Strickland into a bit of a defensive shell / retreat mentality, which he had last time against Dricus Duplessis. The element that Anthony Hernandez brings to this fight that Strickland has not dealt with recently, elite level submission threat and high level wrestling. You look at Sean Strickland's middleweight run, has not faced a grappler like none. There's not one. The best grapplers he faced at middleweight, maybe Dricus Duplessis, maybe Jack Hermanson. Who else? Abus Magomedov, who had him down in round 1 and in compromised spots and is known for a shit gas tank. Fluffy Hernandez is known for relentless pressure, high-level grappling, decent boxing onslaught, and extremely good jiu-jitsu in a drowning, mauling style. I think you have to favor Fluffy to back Strickland up. And while backing Strickland up, that should open up opportunities to land punches, into clinch, into takedown attempts, into top control, into back takes, into some ground and pound. Strickland potentially getting back up to his feet if he's close to the cage. And Strickland surely landing some straight punches, having some moments. But I feel as though the Hernandez pressure will melt Strickland. We saw it last time with Duplessis. I think we see it again here. Strickland backed up for a lot of the fight, outworked for a lot of the fight, frustrated in a lot of the fight. And with the X factor of Hernandez being the takedown threat, it should force Strickland to consistently go backwards, which is what I think we need on the Anthony Hernandez side. And I'm going to say Strickland is the guy going back. Hernandez going forward is the one getting the hand raised at the end of the fight. And then you have to pose this question, as much as Strickland is known to have solid cardio, Hernandez is a cardio machine, what happens when Strickland is forced into a more high wrestling pace fight than normal? A fight where he's put in more compromised spots in the grappling and consistently backed up by a mauler. And then eventually comes the championship rounds. I could see a tired Sean Strickland submitted in round 4. It's not an unfathomable feat for Hernandez to be the guy that strangles Strickland. Now, it's also not an insane take to say Hernandez wins a hard-fought 5 rounds. But I do feel as though Hernandez is the fighter that gets the hand raised this Saturday. On an 8-fight win streak, seems poised for a title fight, and I do think he passes the Sean Strickland test. I do not feel as though Strickland can keep Hernandez off of him with the punch power that Strickland offers. He has decent punch combinations, but he doesn't have devastating fight-stopping power. And Fluffy Hernandez is a guy with good punch durability and consistent forward pressure and a takedown threat. I think the takedowns, on top of securing a top position and an opportunity for a finish by submission for Fluffy Hernandez, could also aid into more striking opportunities, and he could end up, busting Strickland up as he forces him backwards. You could end up cracking him with some good shots on the feet. I think there's a real possibility, and I think it's a high probability that Hernandez is winning some key striking exchanges by forcing Strickland on that back foot where he does not strike nearly as well off of. Hernandez to get it done is my prediction. And I'm calling later stage sub, but submission or decision is obviously the, more proper call in the matchup. Now, I will give credit to Sean Strickland. He looked fucking shredded. In shape, Sean Strickland. Opposite side, Hernandez looking fluffy per usual. But look at the killer's look in the eye. Come on. Look at the eyes. Cold, ice cold. Suppose he hasn't gotten high all week, man. They're in Texas. He's pissed off. There's Strickland on the other side. Something tells me the look in the Hernandez eye is different. The face-off between the two, cold-blooded face-off. Intense stare down on both sides. Both ready to go. I got another angle of the face-off to see the physicality comparison. I think Hernandez slightly wins the battle of posturing here. Strickland has talked a lot of craziness throughout the week, per usual Strickland. After the weigh-in, he said to the crowd, he's more the guy that stands and bangs and fights like a Mexican, whereas, Fluffy's more the grappler. I think he's underrating the Fluffy pressure style into why he succeeds in the grappling, while overrating the striking onslaught of pressure that he fights with when a lot of the times, as of late, Strickland's been more of a point fighter than anything else. And I think Fluffy Hernandez is going to give Strickland the first loss that isn't to Dricus du Plessis in a while. And the grappling threat is also a massive X factor in the fight on top of incredible cardio. And I could see a lopsided decision, if not a finish, for Fluffy Hernandez, which probably jumps him into the damn Khamzat fight because seemingly Imavov and Khamzat don't want to fight each other. Now, the odds for the fight, they have the Fluffy Hernandez side at the favorite status. They have all week, minus 255. At open, it was minus 250. Right now, actually back to minus 250. Same as at open. Plus 215 for Strickland on the opposite end. You look towards some of the other options here. Because obviously, minus 250, wide money line. Parlay-based piece, if anything. People are loving Strickland as the underdog at plus 210. Just recognize he hasn't fought a fighter like Hernandez at 185 before. Let's see. Hernandez by decision, plus 140. Hernandez by submission, plus 265. I do think that sub is live. Let's see what we got for round props here. That's what I want to see. Hernandez rounds 3 or 4, plus 500. I think it is live 3 or 4. Like 3, 4, or 5. Let's see. Hernandez to win by submission or decision. Minus 170. So expected. They're not giving you much for that because that is the expected result. And I'm anticipating that. I'm a little bit of, a crazy man, but I'm thinking 4th round. 3rd or 4th plus 900. 3, 4, or 5 for Hernandez plus 550. Obviously, that doesn't cover the decision side, but you could go 3, 4, or 5 at plus 550. I had a dream that Hernandez won in like the first round by submission, but I don't go too crazy based off the dreams. I'm going based on my logic. I think later stage submission for the Hernandez side is what makes the most sense of a fatigued Sean Strickland who's not used to dealing with this type of pressure, specifically with the grappling threat. Plus 1,800, Hernandez wins round 4 sub. Complete degen. But I do think he's very live to submit. My official call is submission. Being 4th round, strangle. But there's a certain chance that Strickland could go the full 5. But I just feel like it's Hernandez's time. And I can't look past everything lining up for me that describes Anthony Hernandez to win this fight. I don't think Strickland has the power to keep Hernandez off of him. And I don't feel confident that Strickland is going to be the fighter pushing the opponent backwards. And if he's not that fighter, which I don't think he will be because I don't think he has the power to keep Hernandez off of him and win that battle of pressure, I think he's backed up, outboxed, outgrappled, and submitted here. And if not submitted, incredibly fatigued and outworked and beaten by a decision. So Anthony Hernandez to win this main event and become the #1 contender in the middleweight division is going to be my prediction for the UFC Houston main event. And it's a damn good fight night card. My God, prelims stacked. 14 fight card, beautiful. Those are my full card picks, but we're not done yet. I quickly just want to glance upon the parlays. So I came up with the Lock City, Costa and Delija. If you don't like the side of Costa and Delija, maybe you're like, yo, I would rather go with Hernandez and Coria. The alternate at the top, safe, -116. Some other options there if you're on the other end of it. Maybe you like Coria and Costa instead at +100. You want to go D-Gen mode with the pay the rent prop cycle. You got +2,881, Brahimaj sub, Edwards decision, Delija KO, and Lebosnoyani to win by a decision. I did want to do just a quick run through of a potential post weigh-in parlay situation. I will tell you, I absolutely loved the Anthony Hernandez body language. I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but I feel very good about Hernandez going out and handling business. I feel as though, I don't want to say it feels like an absolute certainty, but it does feel like a certain result is going to come to fruition that I just simply can't look past here. Now, of course, I also feel if you look towards some of the prelim fights, there is that side of, a good striker on the rise at flyweight and Alden Coria who probably wins. So if you went Hernandez and Coria, okay, you got -116 when I called it. It's around that range, but it could be up to -130. Adding on from there, if you're like, I see what you're saying with Jacobe Smith, +130 if you're one of those three. You think he's explosive enough to stop Josiah Harrell? Probably. If you wanted to then add Melky Costa, +235. You want to take Jacobe Smith out and just run Hernandez, Coria, Costa, +156. Around that range. Could be a little wider, could be better, could be worse. You think Ante Delija passes the Spivak test, +353. Now, if you don't like some of those type of calls, and you're more on the side of, yo, I see that prop cycle, and that shit is what's calling your name. Okay, so you're going to go a little ballsy. You have to. You have to go ballsy. Okay, I'm going to say Hernandez, I think he does the thing by sub. So you get Hernandez by submission on your slate. Okay, and then you're like, I really like Melky Costa. I think Melky does it. I think he gets a decision, though. I see what you're saying. Ige's durability is unmatched. Melky Costa, Hernandez. All right, submission, decision. Then you're asking yourself, who's getting a knockout? Alden Coria is live for a KO, if you ask me, man. +2,265. Then from here, we can go nuts and add to it, but this is D-Gen shit, fun for conversation. Obviously, not your highest likelihood of success. Obviously, those are the money line sides more than anything else. Do you think that we see the side of who get the knockout? You want to go a KO or would we rather throw another sub? Do we throw Lebosnoyani on the cards? Handles, wins a decision, doesn't get fraud checked, +9,832 with a Brahimaj, wins by sub, complete D-Gen, +22,700. You see how I can get out of hand? That's why I like my Sunday shit. That's why I like the confident calls that I laid out earlier on in the week. And I do think Del Valle is also live to win as well, but he is like a -420 range favorite, which made him, not crazy about the side, made me not crazy about the side of putting him in, a parlay situation or anything with like extreme confidence. But seeing the weigh-in, I do think he wins. I like Hernandez's chances. If you want to just go main card, you said, fuck it, bro. Let me go with Hernandez to show out. We get him -275. And let me just go Melky, -102 right there. You want to go Delija 2, +251. You thinking Jeff Neal does it, +407. If you're thinking it's all sensible on the ride up. You think Neal wins by KO? Granted, the line sucks, but it is what it is. Neal by KO, you want to just go main card cycle? Neal by KO. You going to believe he gets the knockout? You think that Euros is chinny? Hernandez by sub? Melky Costa on the judges' scorecards. Let's say he goes out, gets a decision. Melky on the cards, then he ends up getting a knockout. +1207. You think Delija also gets a KO? You want to throw him in? +2,776. We're going nuts now. I'm not taking it that far out of hand. You guys get what I'm saying. At the end of the day, my best advice is the simplest advice. Do your own research. See where it lines up with mine. If you're just throwing a couple bucks down and want to blindly tail, that's your decision. But the way that I recommend it, if you're really going to attack this shit with some serious heat, line up what you know with what I know. to find some middle ground and give yourself the highest likelihood of success. All right. So that's my take for the masses. Be responsible out there. I love you all. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's weigh-in recap show. Make sure you guys smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to turn the post notifications on because I got videos, live streams every single day of the week. Let me know what you think of the picks in the comments down below. Big W to everybody watching. Drop a W back at me if you got nothing to say in those comments. Yeah, keep it locked in. Hype the video and keep on watching. I'll be live for the full card. See you guys for the fight companion. Much love to everybody. Good night and peace out.